On 5 News tonight, the British nurse cleared of misconduct over Ebola. David Cameron's accused over Libya, and a man is convicted of killing a father of 4. Pauline Kafeki is not guilty of trying to keep her Ebola infection a secret.
She would never have knowingly put anyone in danger. Pauline was lucky to survive, and since her return from Sierra Leone has continued to suffer from ill health.
MPs say David Cameron made mistake after mistake intervening in Libya to oust Gaddafi. And the family man killed defending his livelihood. A man is found guilty of manslaughter. Also this evening, I'll be talking to the grieving father trying to stop others dying from carbon monoxide poisoning. Katie Haynes was killed in her own home, and now her dad wants a change in the law. And is anyone else heading off from Bake Off? And who will replace the hosts Mel and Sue when it moves channels? Good evening, welcome to 5 News Tonight. I'm Matt Barbette. She put her life on the line to save others from Ebola. And today, nurse Pauline Kafeki has been cleared of trying to keep her own infection from the illness a secret. Health bosses accused her of hiding her temperature when she arrived back at Heathrow Airport from Sierra Leone. If she'd been found guilty, she could have been struck off. Julian Drucker has more now.
With her integrity and livelihood in limbo for months, Pauline Kafeki's relief at being cleared of misconduct was visible. Accompanied here by her lawyer, her health remains fragile. But she's now free to continue with the profession for which she nearly lost her life.
Throughout her career, Pauline has been motivated by a genuine desire to help other people, even if this meant putting her own life at risk. She would never have knowingly put anyone in danger. Pauline was lucky to survive, and since her return from Sierra Leone has continued to suffer from ill health. The NMC disciplinary process has been very upsetting and stressful for Pauline. However, she's delighted that the panel has made the decision that she has no case to answer and that she's now able to continue her nursing career in Scotland.
This was Pauline Kafeki battling Ebola and gravely ill after returning from Sierra Leone in December 2014. After being exposed to Ebola in West Africa, the Nursing and Midwifery Council heard claims she had potentially put the public at risk in the UK. The panel heard allegations she'd failed to disclose her high temperature as she passed through medical testing at Heathrow Airport. But after hearing evidence across 2 days, the NMC decided she had not set out to mislead those screening her. And her legal team pointed to her previously unblemished record. Ms. Kafeki is now free to continue working as a public health nurse. Just a few months ago, she featured in a TV documentary where she revisited the medical team who saved her and saw the isolation bed on which she was treated.
I just know that I never want to go back in there again.
How do you feel, Pauline?
Pauline Kafeki had no comment to make today, but within minutes of the ruling, Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon tweeted her support. Her bravery is an inspiration to all of us, she said. Julian Drucker, 5 News.
Former Prime Minister David Cameron has been severely criticised by MPs over Britain's military intervention in Libya. The Parliamentary Committee said there was no coherent strategy for the campaign in 2011, nor for what should happen after the dictator Gaddafi was overthrown. And it said that helped so-called Islamic State to flourish in Libya. Our political editor Andy Bell reports.
It was his first big combat decision, and after the RAF helped stop what might have been a massacre in Libya, it felt like a triumph.
Colonel Gaddafi said he would hunt you down like rats, but you showed the courage of lions, and we salute your courage.
But what followed the death of Gaddafi has been a disaster for Libya. Local militias have fought each other rather than acknowledge a national government. The so-called Islamic State has gained a foothold there, and traffickers have exploited the chaos to send tens of thousands across the Mediterranean, often with fatal results. Now, an important committee of MPs has brutally criticised Cameron for his policy on Libya. They say a limited intervention to protect civilians drifted into an opportunist policy of regime change by military means. In an echo of the Iraq War, they say decisions were based on erroneous assumptions and an incomplete understanding of the evidence. And with no planning for the country after Gaddafi's fall, they say David Cameron was ultimately responsible for the failure to deliver a coherent Libya strategy. The chair of the committee says from the Prime Minister down, they should have been aware of the dangers.
Even with the benefit of hindsight, it should have been understood at the time that we were unleashing Islamist extremist forces, and there appeared to be no appreciation at all that that was going to be part of the consequence of our intervention.
Sir Peter Ricketts was David Cameron's national security advisor at this time, and he thinks this report is unfair to his old boss.
It's too personalised on David Cameron, from what I've read, because this wasn't some sort of mission by David Cameron to go and liberate Libya. This was a response to an emerging crisis.
David Cameron declined to give evidence to the committee. The Foreign Office has said Libya was an international mission authorised by the UN. But would he get this kind of reception there today?
Andy, the report really doesn't pull any punches. David Cameron might not be Prime Minister anymore, but it's really damaging for him.
It is damaging. From the other side, I've spoken to people who were friends, allies of David Cameron, who feel that this report, frankly, is unfair. They point out that this was an international operation authorised by the United Nations, authorised by the Arab League, voted on by Parliament, and they believe that it was justified what David Cameron did. The problem is Libya today is in a terrible state. The facts are there on the ground, and I think until that improves, the judgment on the British intervention there will remain pretty harsh.
And he's saying with other goings-on in Westminster today, and the Labour leader has had a better day in the Commons.
Yes, Jeremy Corbyn today, at Prime Minister's questions, he used all of his questions. He's basically allowed 6 questions to the Prime Minister, and he used all of his questions today to take Theresa May on over her new signature policy of bringing back grammar schools.
What we need is investment in all of our schools, a good school for every child, not this selection at the age of 11.
What we need is a good school for every child, and that's precisely what we will be delivering with the policy that we've announced.
And what was striking today was that Labour MPs in the chamber really did seem to be behind Jeremy Corbyn, and you can't say that very often, whereas on the Conservative benches it did seem a little bit more muted, reflecting the fact that a number of Conservative MPs do have their doubts about this grammar schools policy, and it is going to be pretty tough for Theresa May to get it through Parliament.
Andy in Westminster, many thanks. A man has been found guilty of the manslaughter of a warehouse manager who was killed during an armed robbery at his premises in Birmingham. Akhtar Javid's family watched CCTV footage of the moment that masked gunmen shot him for refusing to open a safe. The man who police believe fired the fatal bullet is feared to have fled to Pakistan. Frankie McCamley has the story.
A loving father of 4 and a hard-working businessman who always treated everyone kindly. Akhtar Javid owned a catering supplies company in Digbeth in Birmingham until he was killed in an armed robbery gone wrong.
It's the hardest thing to think that you're not going to see your mum and dad grow old together. And I remember, that used to be one of the things that I used to pray for all the time. I used to hope that I can see my mum and dad grow old together and live happy, So yeah, that really hurts actually.
This CCTV footage captures the moment masked robbers burst into his warehouse carrying guns. They force staff into an office and push Mr. Javid into the lobby where they try to force him to open the safe. When he refuses, they shoot him in the leg. Moments later, tied up, trying to defend himself, he's shot once in the throat, then in the mouth. The gang drive away with nothing. One of the men was Sander van Alten, a former employee known as the Inside Man. He pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit robbery. Here, a scribbled plan of the warehouse he drew so the gunmen could find the safe. His accomplices include Suraj Mistry, cleared of murder but found guilty of manslaughter, and the getaway driver, Lamar Wally, found guilty of conspiracy to commit robbery. But the man who police believe killed Akhtar has not yet been caught. Tahir Sarif fled the country to Pakistan with his mother 5 days after the murder. He is now the centre of an international manhunt.
We believe he's the person that pulled the trigger that killed Akhtar Javeed. His family cannot begin to get closure until this man is brought back to the United Kingdom and faces trial.
Mr. Javeed's family are urging the suspect to turn himself in following the murder described by police as planned, callous and cold-blooded. Frankie McCamley, 5 News.
Police are searching for a convicted killer who's gone on the run from an open prison. Darren Jackson was jailed in 1986 for murdering a mother of 3. He failed to return to Sudbury Prison in Derbyshire. The 51-year-old is described as being 6 foot 4 inches tall and of slim build. And 2 former executives at the News of the World have been found in contempt of Parliament over their phone hacking evidence. A House of Commons committee says editor Colin Myler and legal manager Tom Crone misled MPs by giving false answers. They have both denied it. Now, a grieving father is calling for changes to the law to prevent more people from dying of carbon monoxide poisoning. Katie Haynes was killed by the gas in her own home just a couple of months after getting married. And now her dad, Gordon Samuel, wants all landlords to be required to fit carbon monoxide detectors in their properties. Gordon is with me now, but first let's take a quick look at a powerful video that's been released to raise awareness. Gordon, many thanks for joining me. It's about 2 minutes, that video. We can't show all of it now, but the reason it's been made is because very soon after Katie died, some 6 years ago, you decided you had to do something, so it wasn't in vain.
Absolutely. It was just days after her death, we just felt that something had to be done. If I was aware of what carbon monoxide was, she'd still be alive because she had telltale signs. She suddenly had migraine, which she'd never suffered from before. And carbon monoxide has similar symptoms to flu, nausea, dizziness. But it goes away when you're away from the home. And when you come back home again, you get the same symptoms. So she had these telltale signs. And we just felt that it was something that we had to do as a family. So it didn't happen to other people. I just wanted to raise awareness. And so this is the 3rd short video that we've made.
And your awareness has improved, of course. Katie was unaware of the dangers at the time. But what beggars belief, because we talk about carbon monoxide poisoning from time to time on this show, is that still now just how many people have no idea about it.
About 40% of households in this country do not know about it. A lot of people think we commissioned a YouGov poll in August. And it showed, we asked one question, what colour should the flame be? So you know that it's safe. It should be blue. But some people thought that yellow was the correct colour. Some people thought that orange was. Some even thought, 4% thought green.
On their gas boiler. So if it is any of those colours,
then you have
could be in danger.
You could be in danger. It should burn blue.
Now look, you have this trust that you set up in Katie's name to raise awareness. You've been at the House of Commons this week, and it's Gas Safety Week next week, I believe.
It is.
So this is all pertinent timing. But you still think the law needs to catch up, particularly in England?
Particularly in England. In Scotland and in Northern Ireland, it changed a few years ago, where all landlords were made to have carbon monoxide alarms and smoke alarms in all rented properties. In England, the law changed last October, and you have to have a smoke alarm. And
England and Wales,
England and Wales. Yeah. And you have to have a smoke alarm and a carbon monoxide alarm, but the carbon monoxide alarm only applies to solid fuel burning appliances. So this does not include gas.
Do you think people are lulled into a false sense of security? They think, well, I've got a gas combi boiler, it can't happen to me.
Yeah, of course they are. That's why we're doing this. This is the 3rd video that we've made, and we feel that by promoting this and getting it out onto social media, it'll make people aware that you have a danger lurking at home. It's something that can easily be stopped. So if you have gas appliances or oil, carbon-burning appliances, the thing to do is get them serviced regularly, once a year. And if you have a audible carbon monoxide alarm, you're fairly well protected.
Which can cost a tenner?
A tenner to 30 quid. You know, you get a really good one, sealed units, where the batteries, you can't take out batteries, they last for 7 to 10 years. And at the end of it, it'll beep to warn you. You don't take the batteries out to put them into your remote control. You know, that's not something that should be done.
It seems so simple, and certainly more people should be doing it. Gordon, many thanks indeed for coming in, and the best of luck in doing this in Katie's name.
And if anybody wants to look at the video, it's on our website, which is katiehaynes.com, and you will see the video 2 minutes.
Well worth a look.
Could save your life.
Gordon, thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
Still to come on 5 News Tonight. Helping the humble hedgehog, how Britain's much-loved native animals could be in danger there. And flash floods and a heatwave warning as Britain's weather just gone crazy. Those stories and more after the break. Welcome back. You're watching 5 News Tonight. Now, skylarks, kingfishers, turtle doves, all names that conjure up images of the great British countryside, all staples of our wildlife. But for how much longer? A new report has revealed that 1 in 7 species is in danger of vanishing, mostly as a result of intensive farming. Minnie Stevenson has more.
Britain's wildlife, a thing of great beauty. But now a major report has warned that as many as 1 in 7 species in the UK now face extinction unless urgent action is taken. A panel of wildlife experts found that aggressive farming, such as the use of pesticides and the loss of hedgerows, were the biggest threat to the survival of endangered species. While those farming methods may have helped to put food on tables, they found wildlife is suffering.
And the report found that nature is the one that's being squeezed out. Farmland currently makes up 3/4 of the UK's landscape, but researchers say that over 1,000 species currently living in the wild now face extinction.
The report found that 56% of species are now in decline. Among the worst hit, the skylark, water vole and the hedgehog. Turtle dove numbers have dropped by a massive 97% since the 1970s, while farmland birds have declined by 54%, and the number of butterflies has also fallen by almost half. Farming unions, though, have defended their practices, saying that since the 1990s, efforts have in fact been made by farmers to grow wildflowers for birds and bees in their fields. So what can be done to save Britain's wildlife? We're consulting a conservation expert.
People do understand that they have to grow crops and provide us with food, but we've got to look at how we can support nature. Creating more wetlands, 11% of all the wetlands are under threat in this country, so if we create more wetlands, that would be good.
Experts say if action isn't taken sooner rather than later, we can wave goodbye to Britain's wildlife. Minnie Stevenson, 5 News.
With me now to talk about this is wildlife expert and biologist Simon Watt. Simon, it's good to see you, but it's unfortunate it's under these circumstances, but this is not news to you particularly.
Well, I'm a biologist, so I suppose I've got a quite depressing job, to be honest. It seems like every day you open the newspaper and you're just going to see what died today. And the thing which I find sad about this is because if you're going to be a biologist, if you've got an interest in wildlife, the best thing you can always do is to start locally. And we can tell here that Britain, it needs to do better. We've read its report card. That's what this survey is. It's effectively a little bit of an audit on the wildlife that we have in our country. And of the 218 that have been surveyed, we're 189th. We're not doing well.
But they're saying that one of the biggest reasons is intensive farming, and people think, well, I want to buy local, I want to get produce that's made near where I live and not imported from far away, but that's damaging at the same time.
Yeah, this is not a straightforward, easy thing to deal with. So yes, there is intensive farming for a start. There is increased urbanization as we move into more cities, as we start taking up more space. But intensive farming is not the only method. It's not the only bad one. There is good farming and there's bad farming. And we have to try and figure out perhaps the right balance. So there are lots of farms out there which are leading by example and are doing very good work to try and be more sustainable, to try and perhaps combat things like flooding, and to be just more biodiverse, to provide more habitats.
You mentioned urbanisation there. Of course, this country is short of many tens of thousands of houses for people to live in, and there'll be plenty who will say, well, we need to look after our humans before we look after our animals. I mean, we can probably do both. What can we do then if we are living in towns and cities to encourage wildlife? We often hear about, hedgehogs need room to get through gardens and that sort of thing. But what other things can we do?
Well, if you're lucky enough to have a garden and you're willing to let a little bit go fallow and try and sort of create an artificial meadow effectively, why not? If you're
Don't mow the lawn.
Yeah, certain areas, just let them go. And nature kind of takes care of itself whenever you let it have that responsibility. Insects and pollinators are pivotal to our ecosystems. They're pivotal even to our food supply. So we need to try and encourage them as much as we can. If you're going to think about getting a pet, maybe don't have a cat. It's up to you, really. If you're going to try and do something a little bit more active, get involved with your local groups.
Why not have a cat?
In some places that we know that they have a big effect on local birds and on local small mammal populations. So it's just one of the other considerations that you can take. I think setting aside a bit of land, getting involved with local charities and local groups, knowing even what's going on in your area. We also cannot pretend that this is not a political issue as well.
Okay.
We have had successive governments claim that they are going to be the greenest there has been, and all of them have lied to us.
Okay. Room for improvement then, in a big way. Simon, thank you very much indeed.
Lovely talking to you.
Right, health warnings have been stepped up today as the late summer heat wave continued across large parts of England. After yesterday's record temperatures, the south and east were again bathed in sunshine, and so too was the northwest, which yesterday missed out, instead getting thunderstorms, torrential rain and no end of disruption, as Peter Lane explains.
Tropical storm conditions in mid-September Manchester. After temperatures rose, lightning illuminated the sky. For a while, thousands lost power and incoming flights to the city were diverted. Then the downpour. Rain so heavy that it flowed through the roof into Manchester's Piccadilly station. And this department store got an unwelcome water feature as 2 weeks' rain fell in just 1 hour. Tram lines in the city centre became rivers and services had to be cancelled. But what a difference a day makes. This, the same spot this morning. Manchester drying out in glorious sunshine. So what is the weather doing?
This very hot air has travelled all the way up from Morocco in a line across very hot Spain and equally hot France and into parts of the UK. As it's travelled northwards with its heat and humidity, it's come across two things. First of all, the Pennines on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side we've got much fresher air pushing across that island. Once those two things come together, you get the catalyst for thunderstorms, big thunderstorms, and that's exactly what happened over the Manchester area yesterday.
One casualty of the weather was Manchester City's Champions League match against Borussia Mönchengladbach, postponed from last night to tonight. Visiting fans from Germany have forked out extra cash to stay an extra day.
Okay, we have to stay, okay? It costs, I don't know how much money, but well...
Despite renewed health warnings for heat and humidity, most are taking the extra sun with a smile.
Well, it makes you want to come out for a start, doesn't it? Get a few sun rays on you.
I don't know how I can explain it, it's just makes me feel good.
Very happy.
You're happier?
Happy, yes.
That's perfect.
I know.
I can see clearly now, the rain has gone.
As ever, this is the UK, remember, so expect normal September conditions to resume by next week.
Bright, bright, a sunshiny day.
Peter Lane, 5 News.
Nice. Now, it's the TV show that's loved by a nation, it would seem. But after the news, it's leaving the BBC. Is the Great British Bake Off crumbling?
Now, for your signature challenge, we would love you to make a chocolate bread. The bread must contain chocolate in any form.
Yeah, first, hosts Mel and Sue confirm they will not be following the programme to Channel 4 when it moves there. And now speculation is mounting that judges Mary Berry and Paul Hollywood, the silverback himself, may follow their lead. I'm joined now by the first ever winner of Bake Off, Ed Kimber, and Caroline Frost, entertainment editor at the Huffington Post. Good to see you both. Ed, what do you make of this hoo-ha? You probably just want to get down to baking some scones and pretend it's not happening.
It definitely doesn't feel like the show that I did. It's a very different. I've said it feels like reporting on sport these days, and the fact that it's front page news on every paper for 2 days in a row is astounding.
You've hit the nail on the head there. It feels like this is a big argument over a multi-million-pound transfer of a footballer, a Premier League player.
I mean, I care more about the baking than the football, so I don't mind.
yes, but the point is, it was a nice, cosy, such a British show. Behind the scenes, it's all about the money.
It definitely feels like it's all about the money, and I think that's a little, sadly, short-sighted. I think the show is so popular that any changes to it risk it not doing as well. So I think there's a really big chance that the show will go to a different channel, different presenters, and it will fail.
What are Channel 4 going to get, though, Caroline? Because if they're not getting Mel and Sue, I mean, of course there was going to be speculation about Mary Berry and Paul Hollywood.
Yeah.
We don't know yet. Who does know apart from them? But if they don't go, they're just going to get a big tent with a few ovens, aren't they?
I mean, this is the problem. They've bought this jewel in the BBC's crown, and of course they want to take everything that was so successful about this show and continues to be, but they also have to imprint their unique stamp on it. It's a very delicate tightrope.
Do you think they wouldn't have said, we're buying this and they have to come with it? Does that seem a bit strange to you?
Well, I mean, as viewers, we obviously associate all four as an integral package, but I mean, this is not unprecedented. We have seen shows do a bit of channel hopping in the past.
Yeah.
And not always to any great failure. I mean, as we know, Big Brother moved from Channel 4 to Channel 5 and has great ratings for the channel. Men Behaving Badly in the past, a sitcom that didn't work at all on ITV and yet found a flourishing new audience in a post-Watershed slot on the BBC. So this does go on, and I've never seen it quite create the hoo-ha that we're seeing on the national tabloids.
Jamie Oliver has thrown his hat into the ring, I believe, saying he wants to do it. Does that not have overtones of Chris Evans saying he wanted to do Top Gear?
That's harsh.
Well, I don't know what the answer is. That's why I'm asking you.
I mean, anything that has had the success that this show has had. I mean, Mel and Sue are an integral part, but I do think it's alchemy. It's all four people. It's more than the sum of the parts.
Yeah.
Anybody who picks up that role they're a brave TV presenter.
Yeah, Ed, the key to a great bake is all about the ingredients and the timing. What was it like sort of witnessing that foursome at play?
I mean, when we filmed it, they had all just met. Paul had come to the show quite late, as I understand it, so they built up that relationship, I guess, in that first series, and immediately they kind of bounced off each other really well.
You could see the chemistry.
Yeah, the humour was there from day one, and the playing when we weren't actually filming was there from day one, so it was a really nice atmosphere, and it was a really fun show to film. So I agree, I think it's a massive part of the show is that the four of them together and the rest of the ingredients make this really amazing show.
We all enjoy the show. Caroline first, will you continue to watch it when it
I'm not sure.
appears?
I think that perhaps all shows have a natural expiry zone, whether or not they stay on the channel. And I think this could be my natural break.
You think it could be a soggy bottom? Ed, what do you think?
I will say, because it's the show that gave me my start, I will watch it, I will stay loyal, but we'll see what happens. You know, if the whole show changes, maybe not.
OK, thank you both very much indeed. That is just about it from us for now. I think my cake's ready in the oven over there. Sean Welby has the weather next, and Danny has updates throughout the evening here on Channel 5. For now, thanks for your company. See you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.